Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Um, I don't have a whole lot to say about really much other than, I guess thanks for the people that did comment and like our Facebook post. Again, I wish they would come and subscribe to us on YouTube because we still only have 13. That hasn't changed. It is what it is. Whatever. Yeah, I guess we'll just get started. You like the lighting effect here? I mean, look red. So the first song is called Capsizing the Sea. This is Trivium and Waves, by the way. Get some facts going for you. It was released August 2nd, 2011. It's their fifth studio album. And it was produced by Colin Richardson through Roadrunner Records. And Colin Richardson, if you don't know who that is, then where the fuck have you been? Because he's recorded so many great metal bands and metalcore bands. And for example, he's done Napalm Death, Bolt Thrower, if anybody's heard of them. I know him because I know them through Ola England. He's done Fear Factory. He's done Merciless, Carcass. Who hasn't? Machine Head, of course.
I've heard of a few of those bands.
Overkill, he's done. A lot of them are bands that I've heard of, but I've never really listened to. And we might do some of these just because of that reason. Cannibal Corpse, he's done Cannibal Corpse, and all that stuff is just in the 90s.
Damn, so he's been around a little while.
He's been around a long time. Cannibal Corpse again. A lot of Machine Head he did. I think he did most, if not all, of their records.
Wow.
Chimera, he did some Chimera. Sixth. Yeah. Bullet for My Valentine, 3 Inches of Blood, Cradle of Filth, Devil Driver.
So he's kind of like
Roadrunner United.
He's on Roadrunner Records, you said, right?
Well,
so
he's not exclusive to them.
Okay.
But
so he's kind of like, because I was going to say, oh man, he's kind of like the Rick Rubin of whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, because Rick Rubin was Roadrunner Records, wasn't he? When he started.
Well, producers are just they don't work with a label. They're just
okay.
yeah.
So,
but
okay.
yeah, I mean, he's done As I Lay Dying, obviously Trivium. He's done 3 or 4 of their records. As I Lay Dying, I think I just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ton, just a ton. This is its title track in Waves, and it fucking slams when it comes in.
It does, especially after that really nice, quiet intro, and then all of a sudden, just the screaming out of Matt is awesome.
Yeah, this was one of the albums where I feel like Matt's voice, he kind of found his voice in this album.
I think so.
I mean, Shogun was a fucking great record. Don't get me wrong. That is probably, other than Ascendancy, that's probably their breakthrough album. But that one to me sounded a lot like it reminded me a lot of Iron Maiden, where this sounds a lot like just a band. You know, it sounds like Trivium. That's why I'm like, to me it's like their quintessential album. It's my favorite by them by far. Well, maybe not by far, but it's my favorite album of any genre and any band and anything like that.
Well, I think it's a cool contrast too, compared to think of just when this album came out for this band in comparison to the last album we reviewed. That album was the band toward the end of their career, whereas this is a band.
This is right in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and I don't
really hear it.
I don't even think that they'd peaked yet at this point because some of their later albums I see it's kind of, I'm trying to be unbiased, but because this is my favorite album, but musically I think I gotta think now. Sin in the Sentence I think was better musically. I
can say that. I think I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and that's a close second for me as far as favorite album by them, but this one was just so original sounding.
From what I have heard, a lot of their stuff before this album seemed like it was really high tempo, real thrashy, kind of, and then to hear a mid-tempo song to start off this album, that was kind of interesting for me to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Shogun was a record that came out before this one, and I think that was the first one that they started using 7 strings. I don't think they use 7 strings at all on this one, which a lot of times when a band starts using the 7 string, that's just their natural progression.
Yeah, they'll use them a lot.
Well, they stopped. They didn't use them on this one, and then I think Oh, you know what? And the next one, I don't know a whole lot about. I'll have to listen to that more. But I don't think they used 7 strings on that one either, which would have been Vengeance Falls. But then after that, they kind of they kind of mixed it in, and all their other, half of them are 7 string, half of them are 6 string.
Yeah, because I know Silence in the Snow, that one
is pretty much all 7 string.
That one's all 7 string
for the most part. There's there's a few songs that they just use a 6 string and drop C sharp.
In fact, that signature guitar that he used on that album, that was fucking sick looking. That white Epiphone Les Paul, man, I think even the fretboard was all white.
Yeah, it was maple, that's weird.
I don't know, man, I thought it was cool.
I mean, it's cool, but I mean, it's just weird to see a Les Paul with a maple fretboard. I don't know if he used his Epiphones in this album. I'm pretty sure he was using Gibsons. Before this was when he had a signature Dean. He had a Dean ML.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it,
and it was the one with the Rising Sun paint on it.
Yep, yeah, I've seen it.
And then I'm pretty sure in this one he went back to using his Gibson, and then Corey was using Jackson's. He has a signature King V, which it's basically just a regular King V, but it has like cutouts in the. Yeah, okay. So it kind of looks like a saw blade a little bit.
Okay,
they're pretty cool.
Yeah, Corey. Because we watched a couple of videos of theirs, and then since the last video, I've seen a few videos of theirs. Corey's really good.
He's really good.
He's a really
and
good
he's cool
player.
As fuck live because like he just fucking thrashes out. He does windmills with his hair.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. He's cool as shit. And like as a guy, he's just fucking hilarious.
Yeah. And it was really interesting too because to me, I don't know how everybody else is going to feel, and I don't want to offend any Trivium fans out there or anything, but he just doesn't look, in some instances, he doesn't really look like a heavy metal guitar player in some cases.
To me, he does, but like I remember seeing pictures of him when he was a lot younger, and he looked a lot like Dimebag Darrell.
Okay, well, I can see. But like the videos and stuff that I saw,
because he put on a ton of weight, and yeah,
like he just didn't like. Whereas Matt, I mean, he looks like he would fit the bill. Because I mean, I know over time, and I'm thinking in terms of like how the 80s and 90s, early 2000s kind of guitar players would look with the long hair, real skinny, and like they had that certain look.
Yeah, Matt had that look back in the day.
Yeah, and then over time he kind of evolved, but then again, so did the look for heavy music as well. So him having his short hair now.
He looked weird when right after I think it might have just been after In the Court of the Dragon came out, but he shaved his head bald.
Right,
and he just looked weird. Me and Ashley were always like, he looks like one of those hairless cats because he's got those big ears and everything too.
Right.
And then she also says, speaking of Corey, I don't know if you've probably never watched The Office, right?
No, I watched it like way back in the day when it first came out, but not since.
I know a lot of people have watched The Office, so if you have, Ashley says that he looks like Kevin from The Office, and he's the guy. He's just kind of a bumbling, just kind of. Everybody thinks he's retarded, but he's not. He's
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
he's like the accountant or whatever. Yeah, and he's like he's got like the bald on top thing, and Ashley's like that's Kevin's the heavy metal like step brother or whatever, step cousin. You can kind of see it, but
when I was watching the videos of them, Matt just seems like the coolest guy, like just really nice, really cool guy. They all just, seem like they're just buddies, and like that's something that back in the day, for a little while there, it just seemed like it became a machine, like music industry and being in a band became a machine. When I was watching some of their videos, they just seem like they really legitimately enjoy each other's company.
And on top of that, they just really love music. That like they put out albums because, or they just because they like it. They don't care if it sells well or not. Like, and I think that's what makes them stand out from a lot of bands now. And it makes them stand out from Metallica, which people kind of compare them to a lot because they're on their 10th record and they're still just kind of putting out music that they like.
Right.
And they don't, I mean, I'm sure at a certain point, once you get to, a certain amount of fame or whatever, you have to kind of appeal to the masses.
You do.
But they do it in a way that they're kind of doing it for themselves as well. They're not going to put out something that's not genuine to them.
Right. And it kind of shows too, like when I've heard a few of their albums now, Trivium, and you can just really tell it's a labor of love for them. They, they put a lot in there. They, like just watching some of those videos, I mean, Matt, he's a bit of a perfectionist. He really wants to nail it and get it just as accurate as he possibly can. And he's got numerous tutorials and videos and what he calls web blogs.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel. Maybe I'll link it down the bottom.
So I mean, and that's just something nice to see, because I mean, when I was younger and I was getting into music, I would have loved to have one of my favorite guitar players just be on there and just speak to me on a level like he does on his videos, or oh, you want to learn one of our songs? Here you go, check it out, and I'll play it for you. You know, I would have loved to see that back then, but unfortunately there was no YouTube. I mean, there was internet, but it wasn't that common.
And Matt, he's one of those people. He reminds me a little bit of like Trent Reznor. He's kind of got his hands on a little bit of everything. Like he does like music scores for video games, and he's doing something with I don't know how to describe it.
Like
it's almost like
but
it's like it's like a video, but it's like a comic book.
Okay.
So it's like a movie, and he did music for that, and I want to say he did voices for it. I'm not sure about that at all, but this is like I just heard about it the other day, and it's pretty cool. What else he's done? He's got his side project Ibaraki, which is the shit. He did that with Ishan from Emperor, or Isan, however the hell you say it. He's done music for video games. He's got his hand in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, some people, they just can't be content just doing one project. You know, you got to kind of get around and do a bunch of other things, you know, and especially if you're that creative, you know, don't just limit yourself to one thing.
Yeah, and his YouTube channel and shit, he's on Twitch as well, where he also is a really avid like video gamer.
Like a video gamer. And then, does he stream music stuff?
He streams a lot of their live shows. He streams like just playing guitar lessons, or you know, vocal warm-ups and shit like that. He's always got a camera rolling on him.
Now that's pretty cool.
And that's what I like. It keeps him in touch with everybody, you know, instead of being this big elusive, you know, untouchable rock star. He's
basically showing that, you know, he's
just
not
a
too
fucking
good for
regular
nobody.
guy. Yeah.
And
I really like that about him.
When you mentioned this group, I was under the impression that they were, you know, a little younger, like maybe around your age, maybe a little younger.
Their drummer I think he's a year younger than me, but anyway.
To me, that's kind of helped me kind of garner some interest in this band too, because since they're all more or less around my age, it's kind of interesting to hear that and see the differences in how I play as an individual compared to how they play, even though we're in the same age group.
Yeah. I think this is the last song in this half. And then we'll switch after this. Some more interesting facts is this is their first album to feature their second drummer, Nick, and the first without their original drummer, Travis Smith. I'd have to look it up, and I'm pretty sure they said this album almost didn't happen because they didn't have a drummer or something like that. I'm pretty sure that they said something like that on their. In the bonus edition of this, or the deluxe edition of this, there's a documentary that came with it of making the album, and I'm pretty sure Matt said something about that in there. And it would have been a fucking shame, dude, because it's such a fucking great album.
And, you know, and I wouldn't have blamed them, though. I mean, if they couldn't have found a drummer in time, or, you know, if just for some reason it just wasn't working for them, I could understand them not making one. But, yeah, you're right. It would have been a shame, because this is the first Trivium album I heard, and this was kind of my introduction to this band. So I don't know if I would have gotten into this band if I hadn't heard this one. Although, you know, I am a thrash fan too. You know, I do like Testament and some of those other bands like that. So probably eventually I would have come around to Trivium, but I don't think it would have happened near as quickly if I wasn't exposed to this album.
Well, and speaking of that, their current drummer, Alex Bent, who's a fucking beast, but he toured with Testament for I think a couple years, and that was like a weird. They were both kind of looking at each other at some point, but they were, you know, either Trivium had a drummer and he was in a band or whatever.
Okay.
Their paths never really crossed until, you know, I think it was, it must have been in between Silence in the Snow and Sin in the Sentence, because he was the drummer on Sin in the Sentence.
Okay. That's interesting, because he's a young kid.
When that came out, that was, 2018 or 2017, and he's a year younger than I am. So he was only, like, 25, I think, when Sin in the Sentence came out.
So, man, to be 25 years old or thereabouts and be asked by Testament to play drums for you?
Well, he was even younger than that then.
Wow. I mean,
so when he was playing with Testament, he must have been in his early 20s.
I mean, what an honor, though. I mean, because they were a well-established band by then. I mean,
and that kid is he's such a fucking beast. If you don't like Trivium, at least look up Alex Bent. That guy is an amazing drummer.
Like I was blown away, and I'll go on record saying I'm a huge Mike Portnoy fan. This kid impressed me more than when I watched Mike Portnoy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, but I mean, Mike Portnoy he kind of set the path for metal drummers. You know,
he did, but
for modern metal drummers, same thing with how Petrucci kind of did it for guitarists.
Right, but that's the thing too, though, is when people get inspired by somebody, they're always going to try to push themselves to do it better than their inspiration did it. So when I saw this kid doing, I'm like, is this the standard now for heavy metal drumming? Because that's a high bar.
And then, I mean, yeah, but no. I mean, it depends on the type of metal. Because, like, I can't remember the dude's name or the band, but there's drummers out there that are playing, like, these insane, like, fucking... he's not the fastest drummer, but he's pretty fucking fast, though. I don't know if you ever watched L.S. DePario. He's from, I think he's Italian, but he's the guy that does the videos where it's like playing like a song with one hand.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. And he plays the whole song. Like he's done like System of a Down and Slipknot.
Okay, I've heard of him.
So I'm like the benchmark. It just keeps going up and up and up and up and up, and it's like. It's just like I remember thinking the same thing with like video games. Like, there's no fucking way that they can get better than they are now. Like, graphically. And then
like the PlayStation.
So now we're thinking, or I'm thinking, like, there's no way that talent for drums can get higher than it is now with that dude. And then like he just did a video where, again, I can't remember the drummer's name, but he was just fucking insane with like his kicks, and it was like. You couldn't even see it. Like, the camera wouldn't even pick up. And cameras are fucking awesome these days. They can pick up everything. It couldn't even pick up how fast he was going. I mean, and he just flat out said, he's like, I can't play this shit.
No, and, and to me, I think that there was a point for heavy metal or whatever kind of genres. There was like a certain point when everybody was progressing at an exponential rate. But I think we're kind of plateauing now. I think we're at a point now where... collectively as musicians, I think we're about as fast or about as technical as we're gonna get.
Yeah, but as far as like metal like this, which is a little bit more mainstream, Alex Bent is the fucking guy. Yeah, and he was. I'd say he's probably about. I kind of like to think that he kind of picks up where like the Rev left off after he died.
I can see that, and
it's just that this guy's a lot more technical. I feel that if the Rev was still alive, though, he probably would have gotten there too, because one of his biggest influences was Mike Portnoy.
Yes,
and you can kind of hear that in Nightmare.
Yeah, and
so that was the last album that he wrote. Yeah, it would have been a fucking shame if this album never happened, because it's so good. Like the guitar tone that he got, fucking, it's so perfect. His rhythm tone, it's this weird, it's really tight, it sounds really heavy, but it doesn't sound like it's pushed too hard. Right. Like, it almost sounds... It's got this nice clarity to it, it's got this nice mid-range punch, it's got a really nice bass tone, it's got a really nice... Like, it's such a nice fucking metal tone.
Well, cause correct me if I'm wrong, but he is using EMGs in this album? Yep. See, to me, that don't sound like it. To me, it sounds like just regular... humbuckers to me, because it's got like that fullness to it. Yeah. Because in the past you would hear the EMGs and it would have like kind of a thin sort of tone to it. His guitar sounds huge.
I don't know who mixed this album. Does it say it here? Oh, Colin Richardson. He produced and mixed it.
Oh, okay.
Colin Richardson is a fucking genius. Like when it comes to shit like that, because he's done, like I said, Machine Head, and like they use pretty much the same shit. I don't know if they use EMGs in Machine Head, but this was. I'm not sure. And I don't know what kind of cabs they use, but 6505 or 5150 variant with EMGs boosted with the TS9, I assume. I'm pretty sure that they're using like Mesa cabs. And I think that was the same kind of setup that Rob Flynn was using.
Oh, okay.
And you can kind of hear it, but I don't think there's ever been that combination together or whatever of those things that sounded like this.
Well, cause that's what I'm saying. It sounds so natural sounding. It doesn't sound like, I don't want to say that EMG sounds synthetic, but like something like that, like they just sound really kind of like not.
And if I remember right, they used a mix between his guitars and Corey's guitars, and they probably used some other ones here and there too, but Corey has, his guitars have blackouts in them.
Okay, so
They have
that's
Seymour
probably what
Duncan
I'm hearing
blackouts.
then.
So they sound blackouts are not as high gain, I don't think, or as high output, I think. So like maybe that adds like that. Because I know a lot of people say, well, that's more of an or a passive pickup, isn't it? Well, they're still an active pickup. They're just not as high output, and they're a little bit more articulate than an EMG. So I think that's where that organic sound comes from.
Okay, and that makes sense.
I don't know. Their tone was fucking incredible, and I don't know what kind of drums he was using. Bass wise, I think Paulo was still using, or maybe he was using Warwick at this point. I don't know if he was using Warwick or if he was still using BC Rich at this point. But he had it was kind of cool because I'd never seen one. He had a signature BC Rich Warlock bass. And then I think it might have been at this point, he ended up becoming a Warwick guitar, artist, and then now he plays with Kiesel. Okay. He's a Kiesel artist.
Yeah, Kiesel's been, I've been hearing that name pop up a lot. I know it used to be Carvin, but yeah, I've been hearing those guys popping up an awful lot. A lot of YouTubers that I watch use them, and from what I understand, I mean, they make a really high-end Premier guitar.
Yeah, I don't know. That's getting into a territory that I'm just like, I mean, diminishing returns. I was gonna say it's kind of a lot of people. Zach Wilde did the same thing. It's kind of a shame to see because like people see like EMGs as like the Walmart of pickups kind of thing. So like everybody or a lot of people were like, why would you ruin such a nice? Because he's got EMGs in his. He has a Gibson Les Paul Custom that he used for years before he got his signature Epiphone.
Yeah, but I bet you that sounds sick, though.
It sounds fucking awesome, but there's a lot of people that are like, he ruined that by putting EMGs in it. It's like, but it's his sound, you know?
Right.
And he's one of the guitarists, again, other than Zach Wilde, that's known as the Les Paul Custom guy. Well, I mean, and why not use a Les Paul Custom that sounds what you want it to sound like?
Right. I would say it's his custom signature guitar. I mean, who's got a right to sit here and tell him what he can and can't put in it, you know?
Well, no, that was before his signature when he had his
oh, I see. Okay.
His Les Paul Custom. But now that he has a signature guitar and it's an Epiphone, I think people have kind of responded to it a lot better. And his new ones have Fishmans in them.
Okay. Oh yeah, Fishmans.
I'm not a fan of Fishmans. Honestly, they're like the EMGs from like when I was a kid. It's kind of the same thing where everybody was using EMGs. Now everybody's using Fishmans, Fishman Fluence Moderns.
Right.
This song's Built to Fall is currently. I think this is my favorite song on this album currently. It just things that have happened in my life. It just kind of resonates with me.
It's kind of interesting how a person can be a fan of a band for a long time or a fan of an album for a long time, and then
I said that before in another album in one of the other videos because this was one of the songs I used to skip.
Oh yeah,
and then because I was just like, all right, well, I want to listen to Caustic or I want to listen to Forsake, but I just listened to this song one day and the lyrics. And there's not a lot of songs that I kind of attach myself with the lyrics, but the lyrics right now they're hitting me so hard.
And that's what I was going to say was it's really interesting how you can hear the song 100 times and it doesn't resonate, that much. But then, given circumstances in your life, that can totally change at the drop of a hat. So, that's pretty cool, That's what I like about music in general is, there's always something for you there, whether you want to accept that at the time or not, but it's always there for you.
This was a song that it wasn't really one that I needed at the time. It was just one that hit me just right at the right time.
And that's, again, I know I've said it a few times in a few of these videos, but that's why I really like doing this on YouTube is because it opens my eyes to these bands that, to me, they're new. I've not heard a lot of these bands ever or very little. And it also makes me still puzzle why I didn't listen to them before. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and I didn't start listening to these guys until 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. And it was right after Sin in the Sentence came out, and I didn't really like them at first. I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot, and I think the first album I tried to listen to was Shogun because I heard a lot of good things about the song "Into the Mouth of Hell We March,"
which is a good song.
That's a fucking awesome song. And I didn't like it at first. I just didn't get it. I was like, all right, let's try the next one.
See, but I like those.
And then I was like, all right, let's try the next one. And then I was like, all right, let's listen to their newest one. And at that time, like I said, was Sin in the Sentence. And I was like, okay, this has kind of power metal sound to the first song. But I was like, I don't know, the mix is kind of weird. Because at the time, I thought the vocals were higher, just too high. And then I went back and I was like, all right, let's try Silence in the Snow. And I'm like, this is better.
It's more like it,
that album, it was mixed really well. It's kind of like heavy bass-wise.
Okay.
But it's also like it seems quieter than all the other albums, but it's a formula kind of thing, or it's love equals familiarity over time.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's how it was with these guys for me. That's how it was with Rush for you.
Yep.
And
that's what it takes. I mean, it's like, if you might not like it the first time. I mean...
Yeah, and then then I tried to listen to... And then I started at the beginning. I was like, all right, let's see what their first album is, which it's in and of itself is really good. I'm still not the biggest fan of their first album just because it's so raw sounding and it's a little weak. And then Ascendancy is a fucking amazing album, which I didn't care for at first. And then I heard The Crusade, which was like, fuck yeah, like that. Yeah. And that's the album that nobody likes by them for some reason. Even they say they don't like it.
Yeah, but see, I like it.
But that's
it's awesome.
Just straight up, just fucking thrash record.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
And that's why I loved it, dude. And oh man, that resonated. That hit me so hard when the first time I was like, this is fucking Trivium. I'm like, why haven't I been listening to these guys? Right. And then I was like, all right, let's listen to the next one. And then it was Shogun was after that.
Right.
And then this came out. And then the first time I heard this album in waves when it comes in, oh my god, it's just so heavy.
To me, what I would call that is a hook, because as soon as they get you with something, then that has your attention, and then if they can hold your attention throughout the rest of the song, then they've done what they do. That's pretty much what the point is. That's what musicians are trying to do. I mean, whether they're trying to do it for money or whether they're trying to do it for a purpose loftier than that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The point is they have to get the audience to pay attention to what they're doing. So a big hook at the very beginning.
These guys they did everything that I like and they put it into one package. I think that's why I like them so much, because I was always into like 80s thrash. I always loved just thrash in general. I always liked like the more metalcore emo kind of bands and stuff like that, and they kind of took both of them and put it together in a nice little package, called it Trivium, and they gave it directly to my ears, and I'm so grateful for that. Like, it's just the perfect mix to me.
And and that's really interesting to hear too, because there was one band like that for me, and that was Dream Theater. I mean, everything I liked about music, they were that same kind of band. So I mean, I kind of definitely understand what you're saying, because this would be like your Dream Theater for me, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, this is one of the songs that I'm going to learn. Well, I already know how to play it, but half of it, I got to learn the other half. But
I like the feel changes that they do, though. I haven't really addressed that since the beginning, but they've been doing this an awful lot throughout this album, where it's just
this
like a feel
album's really
change.
Big about that, yeah.
Like, it's not a tempo change, because the tempo's still right there at the same beats per minute.
Yeah.
It's just the feel. They go to halftime, full time. I don't know if they try to go into 3/4 or anything like that, but I know they do half and full time a lot.
God, is a sick song. I just said like my favorite song, but this one I think is my favorite song in general of his album. This is Forsake Not the Dream. This song's fucking awesome.
And this one too.
That lead line is it's so triumphant sounding.
It is. Like, it's very triumphant. It was very well written. The harmonies are very good between the two guitars.
I get goosebumps every time I hear this song. I got them right now.
And then that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun part, it's just so cool. Like, that's the kind of shit I like to hear, is like that real heavy hitting rhythm part.
Yeah, they're so good. Corey, he's kind of underrated for like writing riffs, because he writes a lot of those really leady sounding riffs.
Yeah,
I think this one he wrote. He might have even wrote this. Yeah, and then it's all. Well, no, this was definitely a Matt riff, because it's all downpicked.
Okay,
but yeah, Matt, he's the next James Hetfield. He just has to be. Like, his down picks are fucking insane.
Well, shit, to do that at this tempo, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, this song's in 226 or something like that. It's really fast, and it's all down picked.
226 is a little fast for me, too. Yeah, I can just tell you right now, I cannot play at that tempo with 16th note downstrokes.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, just watching you learning the song and playing it a little bit ago. Man, I was just like, I'm so glad I didn't pick either of those songs, because there's no way in hell I can do that. I'm not really a rhythm guitar player that much either. I'm more of a lead player, so to watch you do what you do, that's just insane. Like, because I can never do it.
We've kind of flip-flopped over the years.
Yeah.
Like, I was always more of I always wanted to play lead, but I wasn't that good at it, and I think I've kind of developed my own style with lead. I just feel the music. That's it. You know, if I got it, like every song that we've done over on these videos was, I wrote solos for all of them, and I'm just feeling the song, and just jamming.
And that's incredible to me. But I mean, it just is, because since I'm more of a what's the word for it? A theory-driven player. It's just incredible to me when somebody can, just feel it and just do it. Like, it's insane that's possible.
Well,
but I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody or anything. To me, I'm applauding the fact you can do it because it's insane. And
music is an emotion, and I think if you take emotion out of it, it becomes too much of a science, too much of a task. And I'm 100% for, speak through your music. Speak through the guitar. Let the guitar talk when you can't.
Right.
That's how I've been since I was 13.
Right. And I do agree with that because kind of like what he was saying earlier, that's what I've been working on a lot recently too, is kind of, let's be real, when you've learned theory, you don't forget theory. So you kind of know when and where and how to play certain notes and everything.
But he's
you
also
let your fingers kind of guide you too. You don't just.
But he's also been taking kind of a step down from all that and learning more like rhythm and.
Yes.
Because if you can't have one without the other, it's just
can't.
like when you're starting to learn an instrument and you start right at trying to play like Eruption.
Right.
That's not how you learn how to play guitar. You got to start with the basics, or else. What did we watch? We just watched a Matt Heafy. He was doing a stream of a guitar clinic, and he said the best way to learn how to play guitar is to learn how to play guitar.
Yeah,
He's
agree.
like, start with learning how to hold a pick, how to hold the guitar, and stuff like that. You don't just dive into it, into the deep end. You got to start here before you can get to here.
Well, and it takes a special kind of teacher too to be able to explain that to a new student on guitar too, because like you said, most people just want to come in and just go, hey, I want to come right out of the gate learning how to play. I want to learn this song. That's what I want to do. Okay, well, there's things you have to do before you can learn that song.
Right. And if Dad's watching, he'll argue with me. The first song that I learned how to play was not Seven Nation Army on guitar. That was the first song, well, one of the first songs I learned how to play on bass.
Yes.
But the first song that I learned how to play on guitar was Smells Like Teen Spirit.
And I think most modern-ish guitar players, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Something that's a little bit more modern, sounding, or come out in the 90s. See, me, I'll be honest with you, the very first song I learned, and this is where the difference lies. I learned out of a book and learned how to play what was it,
like Ode to Joy
or something like that. But again, you picked up the guitar, you learned a song you wanted to play. I picked up a book and a guitar, and I learned it out of a book. So that's why there's a difference.
The difference, too, is that I started playing bass.
I did give guitar lessons for a little while. I had a few students, and that was probably the hardest thing for me to try to get through to a student was, okay, well, it's going to take you a little while before you can even begin to learn this song.
Yeah.
You're going to have all those things, like the things I mentioned a minute ago. That's exactly what I told them. And their jaws, the same reaction every time. Their jaws drop. Man, we have to invest some time. And then I would say the same thing to every one of them. It's worth the investment.
It's worth the investment. It's not a immediate gratification thing. But if you stick with it, I mean, I don't claim to be like a great guitarist or anything like that.
No.
I'm okay. Like I'm very humble.
That's why
it's
I was
hard
a
for me to
teacher.
say it. I'm a good guitarist, I think.
Yeah.
But I've been playing guitar.
We both are pretty good.
But we've been playing guitar for over 20 years.
Right.
And at this point, if we weren't good guitarists, what the fuck have we been doing for the last 20 years?
I think I'm confident enough in my guitar playing to be able to do this at all.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't confident in my skills, I certainly would not be videotaping myself.
And even that, like, I can see that you've progressed since we started recording songs. It's a very humbling experience when you're not used to recording yourself.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're hearing it, you being played back to yourself, and it sounds like shit. I'm not saying you sound like shit, but
no, but I mean, you can really hear
in your
it.
ears. If you make a mistake, you're like, oh fuck, and then you feel stupid.
Yeah.
It's just like when you hear yourself sing for the first time.
Yeah.
And
or hear your own voice on a YouTube channel speaking for the first time.
Yeah, and that was a hard thing for me to get past, but now I'm used to it. I've also been kind of recording myself for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So I've gotten a lot better at not needing a metronome,
right,
and just keeping time.
And I desperately need it still because I'm.
But
what you
that's
would call,
what I mean. Like I've seen you progress over the last 2 months since we've been doing this, and you've gotten a lot better, like a lot more tight with.
Yes.
He's not used to playing with a metronome.
No, I like to anticipate the beat. So I'll play
instead of playing on the beat,
beat,
you're either slightly before or slightly after.
Right.
But most of the time, you're slightly before. Yeah. But he's gotten a lot better with playing on the beat. There's so many tools out there now to teach people how to play guitar. When we started, there wasn't YouTube.
There was hardly anything.
You know, we had books, or I had.
We had each other.
Yeah, we kind of when we started, I learned a lot from you.
Right.
But we were kids too, so like I think we were both like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna do it my way. You know.
Which that's fine.
He was a lot more willing to teach me. And but I never wanted to learn anything from you for some reason.
But even so, I mean, that being the case, me showing him stuff taught me an awful lot about myself as a guitar player.
You taught me how to play power chords, and that was game changing for me. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm good.
When you learn how to play a power chord, that's gold. I mean, that's pretty much you have the bank now for the rest of your guitar playing.
And then I learned how to play pinch harmonics on accident.
Same here.
And I do it supposedly wrong or different than everybody else. How they kind of do it with like either the fat of their hand or with their thumb. I always pinched it with my ring finger. Yeah, it's a really humbling experience when you hear yourself playing over and over and over again, and you think you're getting it when you're just playing, but you're just not quite getting it. And then you have to play it over and over and over and over and over and over again until you finally get it. But then once you do, it's like the most rewarding experience of your life.
It does.
At least for me, it is.
No, I agree. And because I mean, I'll tell you right now, this preparing for these videos and learning these songs, we're not learning these songs overnight, and it's not something typically that we already know. A long time before this.
I mean, for me, like I said, this was a little bit of a different story because I felt bad because I didn't do one last time, so I just picked this so I could do 2 songs that I already knew. I'm doing Forsake Not the Dream and Caustic Are the Ties That Bind.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing In Waves.
It's I think it's what was the one? Forsake Not the Dream, I think.
Yeah.
That's the one. The pre-chorus is that really fast down pick.
It takes some time.
I've been practicing that song almost every fucking day for the last almost a year.
And there are riffs and songs that are like that.
And there's still parts of that I didn't know, you know? And I was just listening to it, I was like, that's how that goes.
Exactly.
And then the outro to that, I just finished recording that today, and I was like, I just figured out how to play it, so I'm going to lay it down right now. It's the same kind of thing. It's all down-picked, and it's tough, man. And
it is. And to watch him do it, it's... I mean, for somebody like me, too, I mean, again, we said it earlier. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a jackass here or anything, but I taught him an awful lot when we were first starting. To see him do that was probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever seen in my life, just because to see how far he's progressed as a musician and that he's capable of doing something that I physically cannot do.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And, it was just, to me, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
And that's why it's frustrating to me for like when people ask me like, learn how to play this song, just random songs, and I'm like, do you understand how hard it is to play guitar?
Yeah, it's not
like
something
I can't just
do.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's some guitarists that can, like studio musicians are pretty good about that, but like I can't just pick up the guitar and be like, oh, it's whatever, like it's fucking irritating. Like,
I mean, the best that I could.
You think I like I said, I've been practicing that one song for like the past year,
right? And
I still didn't have it down.
When you're just a music fan and a listener and not a musician,
you don't understand how hard it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you come and ask a guitar player or a drummer or a bass player or even a singer to perfectly replicate something from scratch right there on the spot like that, it's never going to be something like, even if you've got millions of years of music theory knowledge, you're never going to be able to do it because you have to play it exactly the same way the person did it on the recording, all that other stuff. So,
and it's just like when you were teaching lessons and those people were asking you, teach me this song, like,
and I don't
first
know the
of
song.
all, you can't just learn the song. It's not that simple. That's what I mean. People that don't play guitar, they don't understand that it's not that easy.
No. And it's not something that you
like
can just
people
do.
will hear us play guitar and they'll be like, oh, they're good, they can learn this. Oh, sure, I can, but you want me to pick it up and play it right now. Like,
right.
I don't, first of all, I've never heard the song before in my life.
Exactly.
And I can't just pick up a guitar and play it. I can't remember what song it was, but somebody came up to me with some it was like pretty much all sweep picking and like just really, really technical. Here, you can learn how to play this. You're a good guitarist. I'm not that fucking good. I can't even sweep pick over my own shit.
And I laugh because that does happen. Like, people do come up to you, hey, can you do this?
I'm like, if I really tried, give me about a year. I'll try to learn it over the next year.
Right.
But again, like I said, first of all, I have to know the song.
Right.
I have to have the want to learn the song.
Right.
And
the time.
I don't know.
I mean, mostly the time, because if
it's mostly the time, yeah. That's the thing. Is like people now, they just want immediate gratification. And
right.
That's if that's what you're about, guitar's not for you. I'm sorry. Any musical instrument is not for you if you want immediate results. Right. It's just not going to happen. It's just like working out. You
right.
go to the gym one time and you're not going to see improvements.
You're not going to see it in one session. You're not going to see it maybe even in 50 sessions of trying to play something. But eventually you'll get there, and if you have the dedication and the desire to do it, yeah, you'll get it done.
Yeah. Well, that ended up being more of a discussion about guitars, but that's cool too. But yeah, that was in waves. There's not enough good things I can say about it. It's just beginning to end is just a fucking incredible album. It's so good. Like I said, Matt Heafy, Corey Beaulieu, I think is how you say his last name. He's got a weird name, Paulo Gregoletto, and currently Alex Bent. They're just 4 dudes that they came together and they made this sound that's just to me becoming iconic. You know, they really kind of changed metal for the better. I think there's a lot of people that would disagree.
And in my opinion, you know, as somebody who isn't a huge fan of the band, but I do like them, you know, it's kind of interesting because, I can see why people love them. I can see why people don't like them. Yeah. But, you know, at the same time, to me, it's just good music. I mean, really, don't let that be your hang up on a band like this. Just take a listen to it and listen to
every single one of their albums sounds different. So if you don't like one necessarily, listen to a different one.
Yeah. And
I always tell people, if you don't like their newer stuff, listen to their older stuff.
And that's what I got because I've listened to, I think, they're up to this album, I heard. And already I could see a lot of differences from the time they started to this album. And I'm kind of excited because I have heard songs here and there from albums past this because I've heard you play them before. And I can see that the band is not content in just, you know, doing one style all the way through their entire career. They want to progress. They want to evolve as musicians. And that's the kind of bands that I want to hear. Yeah. People who, you know, want to show what they can learn and what they can do and are excited to, you know, share that with their audience.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Unless you got something else.
No, like I said, I just I thought it was a good listen. You know, I mean, I heard it a few times before the video came up, and I really enjoyed what I heard. I mean, I don't think there was a single bad song on the album. There was something that I could really kind of latch on to with each song on here. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited to finish up the song that we're working on this week. The one I'm doing, I texted him a few days ago, and I've never had more fun trying to learn a song. Yeah. Like, it's an awful lot of fun learning it.
It's like I mean, that's probably the most repetitive song on the album, but most of this stuff is really, like every riff's different. So yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next week, and you'll listen to us play music. So, why are outros so weird?
Intros and outros.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one.
All right, see you next week.